You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Things are not good in Rockets land right now as the losing streak continues today as they get beat down early by the Dallas Mavericks, storm back early in the second half, but do not have enough offensive firepower or defensive legs at the end of the game to hold off and get a win today and end their losing streak, which now sits at 6 consecutive losses for a team that looked pretty darn unbeatable there for a while and looked like a team that was going to for sure be top 3 in the Western Conference. They have put you into a bit of a pickle now as they could not get back home and to the All-Star break fast enough at this stage based off of the way that they are playing. Hello and welcome this early evening to the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I am your host, Michael Connor. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the app, the Gametime app, and create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. If you're new to this channel today, first of all, welcome and thank you. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. And as I mentioned, if you are listening to this on the Locked On Rockets audio feed, thank you for that. Don't forget to go and find the Locked On Sports Houston YouTube page. Subscribe to that. We're here live on the YouTube page after every single game. And then, of course, you can always watch these back later on and catch the daily Locked On Rockets podcast with Jackson Gatlin. All right, let's get through the issues now. First of all, this was an emotionally charged day in Dallas, because this was the first time the Mavericks have returned back to Dallas since trading away Luka Doncic. They had the protests from the fans outside of the arena, the American Airlines Center there in downtown Dallas before the game today. It's quite a bit of people, a lot more than I was expecting. You put together these silly protests and whatnot, you typically think, nobody's going to show up to those. Videos are pretty impressive, I thought. The Mavericks and their fans that were charged up today. A lot of emotion in the building. Anthony Davis makes his Dallas debut. Max Christie was fantastic for them today, his home debut with the Dallas Mavericks. And that was a Mavericks team that went out there and played. Sorry, my dogs are deciding to bark. They're not happy with the loss either. They watched the whole loss with me. Stop barking, please. You got to quit it, dude. Bear. Yeah, his name's Bear. Totally threw me off my game here. Way to go, man. This is the difference. This is the always fun of doing a live show. And I have one dog. We have 3. One that is my sidekick, goes everywhere I goes. But he will sometimes, when his sisters are off barking somewhere else, decide that he needs to bark too. But he's pissed about the game today too. So they're the emotionally charged Dallas Mavericks fans, the emotionally charged Dallas Mavericks team. They want to come out and show that they can win. They want to come out and show that they can do something. Look, the Rockets just got absolutely manhandled in that first half. Anthony Davis was incredible in the first half, offensively and defensively. The Rockets played, I thought, a scared-to-death brand of basketball in the first half. They basically were like, oh, my God, Anthony Davis is in the paint. We can't go to the paint. We got to take all these, pull-up jumpers. We got to do all these things, like all these dumb things they should not be doing. And, it was just like over and over and constant of that. And I did not understand it by any means. But eventually, they did find an answer in the second half. But it does not cover up the issues are real. They are offensively, and look, right now, they're in a mega shooting slump across the board. They ended up having, way better numbers in the second half shooting the basketball, but they were overall just horrible as a team today. 40% from the field, 28 from 3. Awful. Absolutely awful. Defensively, they've been weak of late. And that includes the first half. Again, in that first half alone, I was trying to pull up my box score here. Anthony Davis went for 24 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. Do you have a block? And 3 block shots. He was 9 of 13 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 4 of 6 on the line. 10 defensive rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds. He was a one-man show. He and Klay Thompson in that first half really kind of paced the Mavericks. And the Rockets had no answer. And in the second half, they did have an answer, which was good. But there is a real offensive issue for the Rockets right now. We've heard Ime Udoka say it quite a bit, and they've put themselves now. And I was not on this path. I was not on this path of being a believer of this, that they would fall hard. And look, right now, they're a half game up of the Lakers of being the 5 seed in the Western Conference. This is a team that a couple weeks ago was locked in at 2. And look, to Memphis' credit, they're not losing. To Denver's credit, ahead of them, they're not losing now. And the Rockets have lost a season-high 6 straight. I mean, just insane what has happened. But that's how quickly it can happen. They've done a lot of things poorly of late. They've done a lot of things poorly defensively. This team is going to win more often than not on their defense being tremendous. And it has failed them on multiple occasions. And don't forget, on top of that, they also, again, it always comes back to this at some point, because they are a limited offensive team. It is a problem. Udoka called it out the other night when he said, we don't have anybody in the fourth quarter that can create stuff. We don't have anybody that can create anything at times. They're missing Fred VanVleet, which matters. He is an orchestrator of their offense. That does matter a lot. There was the rumors earlier today yesterday, that the Rockets were going to be involved in the Ben Simmons sweepstakes, just from the standpoint of, of having another point guard, but that didn't even become a thing. He went to the Clippers, and honestly, that's fine with me. I wasn't interested in that guy at all. But they are missing something seriously right now. And I've talked about this quite a bit recently. They've raised the level of expectation that we as fans have as the season's moved along, because it got so good so fast. And look, I bought into it, like I said, sitting there as the 2 seed, where you think, nothing's going to change here. They're going to stay the 2 seed all year. Even though these other teams behind them are really good, you don't want to mess around too much. You got to end this thing quickly, because if you keep, let's just say you rattle off with another couple of, this team's going to bounce back, play again tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not a long layup. I mean, it's a short flight home tonight, but it's not a lot of time off. It's what time now? It's about 5 o'clock. They won't be out of that arena until 6 at the earliest. I believe they fly out of DFW, which is the further away airport there in Dallas. There's not traffic. It's a Sunday. Or Saturday, excuse me. I mean, realistically, they're probably not getting in the air until between 7:30 and 8, maybe just after 8, 8:30 at the latest. Okay, so then they fly back. They fly to Hobby. So they'll be 45 minutes in the air. Let's assume they're on the ground back in Houston by 9. Then they're getting back to Toyota Center by 9:35, 9:45. And then, wherever they respectively live, they got to go home, go right to bed, which I'm assuming you probably want to do. They've been on the road a lot lately. And you got to turn right back around because you got a 1 o'clock tip tomorrow. And then, oh, by the way, if you look at their schedule coming up, they are smattered with some back-to-backs. They've got this back-to-back here. They've got a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. Those are home games, but it's Phoenix and Golden State. And then they have another back-to-back right after that. That's after the All-Star break. Correct? Yeah. I don't know when the All-Star break is. Yes, it's after the All-Star break, but they go back-to-back after the All-Star break, Friday, Saturday. Then their next 2 sets of games, back-to-back. And then they finally end their back-to-back streaks. So basically, their next 6 games are all back-to-backs. They won't have a non-back-to-back until they play March 1st and then again March 3rd. And that's why I say you can't let this continue. You can't continue to play bad basketball, because if you keep doing this, other teams around you are going to end up passing you up. And you're going to look at this thing, and then all of a sudden, there's a lot of people out there that they're going to end up at the play-in. Now, I will say that we'll save it for a second. We'll get right back to it. Let's talk about more of the issues. As bad as it feels, and look, I'm pissed right now too. I don't want us to go like Earth is ending just yet. I don't think we're there yet. We'll discuss why here in a brief second on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 per month for 1 year. From the first match, must keep funds in IRA for over 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. It's our Locked On Rockets Postcast after another loss for your Houston Rockets today. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for joining us. If you're live, if you're not, if you're watching it later on, listening later on, appreciate you as well. Rockets tried to come back today against the Mavericks. We're not able to do so. I did think it was some really good coaching by Ime Udoka in that second half, coming out and going ahead and going with the 2 big lineup. And it really kind of sparked their surgence there in the third quarter. The Rockets came out there in that third with Alpe and Steven Adams in the lineup there together. And you have to stop doing that while I'm doing the show, Bear. He's barking again because his sister's out there barking. 15 points for Alpe in the third quarter there to lead the Rockets as they outscored the Mavericks in that quarter 33-24. And Steven Adams was really a big part of not only their ability to get back into that game, but also, again, had a massive presence for the Rockets today. Even if he did not score much, Steven Adams today off the bench only had 2 points, but he grabbed 12 rebounds, and 9 of them were on the offensive glass. Now, that is a little bit – it's great and all that you get all these offensive rebounds. You know, the Rockets, for as great offensive rebounding for as great as they are on the offensive glass, they do have issues on the defensive glass. Today, they were out-rebounding the defensive glass 31-29. They did win the overall rebounding battle, and they didn't capitalize, really, on the second chance points. I need to pull up and see. They don't give – I hate that. If you guys check out box scores and you're a connoisseur of them, the NBA.com page has a game book, which is something that the media gets at the games. I love them. I love them because I use them forever when I'd be at the games. But they don't give you second chance points in there. And I don't even think – like I'm looking at like ESPN as well. They don't even have that either. Just give me I just want those second chance points. It was really low. They did not execute very well in the second chance points at all. I mean, look, you probably would have guessed that if you looked at the shooting percentage today, because the Rockets shot 40% from the field and below 30 from 3. Of course, they didn't execute on second chance opportunities. You know, but they're in a very bad place right now. They are playing their worst basketball of the season. Before this streak, they had never lost 3 games in a row this season. And now they're sitting at 6 consecutive losses, which is just a little bit mind-blowing considering how they looked early in the season. And whether it's defensive issues, legs being tired, dog days in the middle of the season, but you can't be a young team like they are. And I don't think that it's necessarily that, like being tired of playing, being tired of whatever. I really don't. I think maybe their legs could be tired, sure. Maybe they're a little bit road exhausted, sure. That doesn't aid in it. But that doesn't mean that that's why they're playing bad basketball. They're playing bad basketball because they're executing poorly. They're not doing things that they did earlier in the season. Again, certain injuries, key injuries in certain areas are still affecting them. For the Fred VanVleet, missing him is massive. You know, we don't talk about him a lot too. It does stink to not have Jabari Smith out there. They're getting roasted at times. I don't think that Tari Eason is as an effective player when it's kind of him playing the Jabari role all over the place. even if you get frustrated with Jabari, there is a difference, I think, defensively in the two and athletically in those two players to where when they have them both, they both play their roles. Tari off the bench, Jabari in the starting lineup, and then they're both out there at times together. Those two guys really give them a dynamic amount of length and ability to guard on the perimeter and guard at the rim at times to where, this team is different. They don't have that at the moment. So, again, I don't want to say – I'm not doing the injuries are to blame for the Rockets at all. They're not. But it is a factor as to why they're not playing their best basketball. And I think anybody with two eyeballs and a brain can know that that's exactly, what is going on out there. Flat out, they're just not executing. That's the number one thing. And their issues that they have offensively that I brought up throughout the season, they're being magnified at the moment. And they're magnified because they can't score points. This team cannot score points. They cannot do anything consistently enough on the offensive end to give them a chance. It was pretty incredible today that they played as poorly as they did in the first half. And they weren't they were getting beat. They weren't getting otherworldly destroyed because, look, they clawed back into the game. There was a possession there in the fourth quarter where they needed a three. And if they hit the three, they would have taken the lead. They were down by 2 points. First half, they were down 17, but it felt like it should have been about 30 based on the way that they played. And they weren't. So again, I'm not going to, now this is for the hard of hearing. I'm going to be very thorough here when I go through this because people watch and listen to things and hear things that aren't there. So because I know the comment section of the video afterwards is going to be filled with people that just don't listen for some reason or can't comprehend when somebody's trying to lay it out at all. This basketball team is a good basketball team. They're not a bad basketball team. If you have paid attention, like I've mentioned many times throughout this season to these shows, I have been open with my concerns about their offensive end of the basketball. For as great as they've been, I've acknowledged it the entire time. I've known that. I am not going to be Mr. Rockets Red all the way up here at the top. I'm not going to be Mr. Negative Nancy all the way down here at the bottom. I typically try to keep the level head right in the middle. That's where I am. And I think that's where we don't live in reality and just the world in general with basically anything. And it's leaked into our sports opinions throughout I just don't get it. I just don't understand for 1 second. But I do get it because the loudest buffoon that's out there that says the craziest, hottest takes is the one that gets the most attention. I try to not be that person. Now, again, me not being too high, too low, this isn't me going too high here. I am acknowledging that while this stinks right now, it is not over. And don't flood everything and say they're terrible. You could have seen this coming. Now, if they go off and lose 10 straight more, then sure, we can have that discussion because they're going to be creeping back towards 500 at that point. They still have room to work. And you have to give them the respect of that. You have to give them the respect of being professionals and figuring it out. And I can do that. Doesn't mean that you can't be upset about it. Do you think I'm not upset about it? Of course I am. I don't want to watch them go out there and lose watching 6 straight. And we didn't have a show the other night for the Timberwolves game. Ended up having a really late day, and I didn't see enough of the game, and I didn't want to come on here and blabble my way through it and make it sound like I did or was doing a show that I didn't watch. And by the way, real quick programming note: we unfortunately will not have a show tomorrow. I have a flight tomorrow during the game, so it is what it is. We'll be back for the next one. You guys enjoy tomorrow's game. Hopefully it's a win. That's, I hope for you guys it's not a loss. The sky is not completely falling yet. Don't be that person just yet. It's not over. Again, there's a lot of games left. They're still in the 4 seed at the moment. If they slip and fall down to like 7 or 8 all of a sudden, okay, we can start hitting the panic button. You're not hitting panic buttons yet. you're hitting the pissed off button. That's what you should be hitting. You're slamming the pissed off button because you've seen what they're capable of this season, and this is not what they typically do. They are capable of far more, far better than this, and they're not playing that way right now. So again, I hope I did that thoroughly enough. Everybody to know, I'm not Rockets red. I'm not negative Nancy. I'm trying to keep it right down the middle. And right down the middle tells you in an 82-game season, at some point you're going to have, is it always going to be a 6-game losing streak? Of course not. But at some point you're going to have a streak. And at some point you're going to play really bad basketball for a stretch of time. And the Rockets right now are in the middle of it. And hopefully this is the worst of it. Odds would tell you, based on it being a long season, that there will be another one. But odds would also probably tell you, if you go back historically and look at teams that are better half of the league teams, they don't have more than one long one. Now, it's on them to finish this one tomorrow against the Toronto Raptors at the Toyota Center. Let's talk about how they get out of this. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache, but with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste your time searching through endless ticket listings. Everybody's been using this Gametime app. I've used the Gametime app for a while. Let me tell you just why I love this app. It's got curated deals that make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price no matter what. And, of course, no more sifting through thousands of options. The seat view feature is also a game changer. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat looks like in the venue. It's oh so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Locked On Rockets Postcast rolls on here on a Saturday evening. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you guys for joining us live. If you're watching it later on, also appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're creeping towards 3,000 subscribers on the channel. I am so grateful for that as we are creeping up. We're about 2 months away from the 1-year anniversary of this channel starting. So I'm very, very appreciative of you guys coming out, hanging out, getting in there, and, of course, always talking about our Houston Rockets. The Rockets lose today to the Dallas Mavericks in ugly fashion overall. 116-105. Rockets now 32-20 on the season. They're 17-12 on the road. They're led today by Alperen Şengün, who went off in the third quarter, ended up with 30 points today for your Houston Rockets. The Mavericks early on, led by Anthony Davis, who in his Dallas debut went for 26 points and 16 rebounds in his 30 minutes, left with, with an injury. Look, Craig Ackerman was saying on the TV that he looked like he got kicked or whatever, or hit in the nether regions, but you never know with Anthony Davis. It feels like one gust of wind, if you open the wrong door in the arena, could knock him over and he gets injured at some point because he's always out with something. So that's the Dallas Mavericks problem, not our problem. Their fans can still be ticked off about that trade. We don't got to worry about it down here in Houston. I kind of not too mad about it from the standpoint of we don't have to watch Luka crush the Rockets. I mean, he's still going to crush the Rockets because he's in the Western Conference with the Lakers, but we don't have to watch him do it, against a team that's in the state. So there's that. It could be 3 times a year or it could be 4 times a year, but it won't always be 4 times a year. Rockets tomorrow against the Toronto Raptors. Look, it's a quick turnaround. The odds are stacked against the Rockets. Now, look, Toronto, interesting team, weird team, bad team. They made some moves at the deadline to try, it feels like, win. I don't necessarily know what they're doing there. On paper, the Rockets are the far better team, of course. They're going to be rested, though, tomorrow, are the Toronto Raptors. They are in town already because they played, I think it was last night in Oklahoma City. So they're already in town. They're hanging out at the hotel today. They're probably getting a nice dinner, doing whatever they want to do. And, you know, the Rockets are coming in off of a long, 13 out of 17 on the road, playing their worst basketball of the season. They just finished a, 4-game road trip there to finish that stretch. And, man, you think about it, this streak wouldn't even be, I mean, we would still be talking about bad basketball, but they had a 1-point loss to Memphis in here. They had that dumb loss to Brooklyn where they just gave it away at the very end. I mean, things just went south there quickly. And it really sucks because it came off of the stretch where, remember, they won 2 games in a row against Cleveland, and then they beat Boston. And it's just like Memphis, Brooklyn, New York, Knicks. They're a good team. But it was a game. It's a game you gave away. They gave up 40-something points in the fourth quarter. They were winning that game. They had that game in the bag. 46 points in the fourth quarter there. And the Minnesota game just sucked. Look, tomorrow against Toronto, the number one thing that has to happen to me is they have to go out and play fast and play with speed and get in the fast break. This team can't shoot from the outside right now. They're not a great outside shooting team as it is, but right now they really can't shoot from the outside, and they have to create in transition. You have to play fast basketball. Come out and punch them in the mouth. You have to grab a big, significant lead early and hope that you can do enough to hold on to it at this point, based off the way that this team is playing. If you don't do that, guess what's going to happen? They're going to, be losers of 7 straight games. Like I mentioned earlier from a programming note, we unfortunately will not have a show tomorrow, but we will be back for the following game for your Houston Rockets. That will be on Wednesday against the Phoenix Suns. That one will be at home as well. Appreciate you guys for stopping by, watching live today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let everybody know to go and follow the Locked On Sports Houston page as well as we continue our climb towards Mr. Beast numbers, whatever the heck he's at. I don't think we're going to get that. It's okay. Thanks again for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll talk again